When ideas mature into wisdom, ideas once considered radical slowly mature into wisdom. Steve Jobs' principle no longer shocked people, they guided them. What was once rebellion become foundation. Innovation slows down to see clearly. The world learned that rushing blinds vision. Steve had always slowed down to see clearly, and now innovators follow that rhythm. Slow eyes, sharp minds. The quiet confidence of knowing what matter. Steve's never chase everything, only what matter. This confidence born of clarity become a compass for future creators. When purpose protect you from burnout, ambition burned. Many purpose protected a few. Steve Work's ethics was intense, but his purpose gave its direction and meaning. The difference between busy and meaningful. Steve Jobs, despite busy work, he taught that meaningful work feels lighter even when it is hard. This distinction saved many from exhaustion. Learning to trust instead again. Data explain trends, but instead shape breakthrough. Steve trusted his instinct deeply, and others learned to listen inward again. Innovation as emotional intelligence. Great product understood emotions, not just function. Steve had always designed with feeling, not formulas. When creation become a form of meditation, building with full attention become meditative. Steve Jobs' intense focus showed that creation itself can quiet the mind. The courage to disappoint for the right reasons. Steve disappointed many to protect the product. People learn that disappointed other is sometimes the price of excellence. Designing for dignity. Steve believed users deserve dignity, clean experiences, respectful choice, and thoughtful design. This belief reshaped ethics. Innovation learns to rest. Rest was no longer weakness. Stiff cycles of intensity and withdrawal taught that rest sharpens vision. When minimalism reveals character, what you remove reveals who you are. Stiff minimalism reflected inner clarity, not emptiness. Building things that feel inevitable. Steve aimed for products that felt obvious once they existed. This sense of inevitability became a gold standard. The long view outlives short wins. Quick victories faded, long vision endured. Steve had always played the long game. Innovation as translation. Steve translated complexity into simplicity. This ability to translate, not impress, become true innovation. When taste become leaderships, Steve's led through taste, his refined sense of what felt right. Taste become a form of authority, choosing depth when it is lonely. Depth isolated Steve at times, but he chose it anyway. Others learned that loneliness often accompanies meaningful work. Designing for trust, not control. Steve prefer trust over control. Good design empower user rather than restricting them. The responsibility of setting standards. Once standards rise, they must be protective. Steve guarded standard fiercely, knowing compromise spread quickly. Steve value time. His own and other products were designed to save time, not steal it. Steve's greatest skill remained unchanged. Saying no focus survived through refusal. Steve Jobs lived deeply through work, but he also learned when to step back. Balance mature over time. Awareness of life. Limits sharpened. Steve's choicely mortality clarified prioritized. Believe product should evolve with people's growth, not novelty, but refined programs. Every decision reflected values. Steve product quietly communicated what he believed. Perfection guided Steve, but progress sustained him. Moving forward mattered more than waiting endlessly. Vision attract resistance. Steve protect his vision, fiercely knowing fragility. Invites compromise. Steve rarely explained himself fully. People learn through observation, not instruction. Steve designed for himself first. Authenticity flowed naturally from this honesty. Success bred gratitude instead of arrogance. Steve later years reflected appreciation over ego. Even at the peak, Steve reset his mind. Beginner thinking kept creativity alive. Devices stopped being tools, become companion. Initiative, gentle and human. Steve often sacrifices applause for integrity. History rewarded that choices. Always imagine the full journey from first touch to final goodbye. Boldness no longer shouted, it whispered confidently. Limits clarify direction. Steve embraced constant to sharpen creativity. Removing confusion felt ethical. Steve believed clarity was kindness. Steve legacy spoke daily through choices other made. Wonder inspired curiosity. Addiction rare drained. Meaning Steve chose wonder. Steve ended chapter intentionally. Product project phase of life. Greatness brought to humility. Steve's final lessons were quiet ones. Steve learned to step aside so other could grow. Ideas turn into objects, philosophy become tangible. Momentum fades, meaning stay, Steve chose meaning. Steve influence guided decision when even when his name was not spoken. Creating revealed the creator. Steve discovered himself through building. The story stopped being about Steve. It belonged to all who care deeply. There was no finish line, only continuation. Every new idea began again in courage. Curiosity, courage, simplicity. There is no final part. Seems your story continue wherever someone dares to think differently and act with care. This is no longer a life story, it is a way of seeing the world. When thinking becomes a daily practice, thinking differently was never a slogan, it was a habit. Steve Legacy reminded people that great thinking must be practiced daily, patiently, and honestly. The strength of choosing fewer dreams. Steve taught that choosing fewer dreams allow you to live them fully. Scattered, ambition faded, focused vision endured. Innovation learned to respect silence and silence. Silence stopped feeling empty. It became a space where idea mature. Steve had always listened to silence more than noise. When work aligned with inner values, work felt lighter. When aligned with value, Steve life showed that misaligned success eventually collapsed inward. The discipline of caring deeply. Caring deeply was exhausting but powerful. Steve cared enough to fight for detail other ignores. Steve respected human rhythm, focus, rest, and curiosity pause. Technology began adapting to humans, not the other way around. When vision demands patience, great ideas demanded waiting. Steve patience protect vision from premature compromise. Steve believed products should feel honest. Emotion truth mattered more than technical perfection. Had always walked away before project roles comfort. Walking away remain a form of clarity. Reducing complexity respected user time and mind. Steve treated attention as care. Steve gripped problem down to their core solution grew cleaner when fundamentals guided decision. Steve built as if every product carried his signature personal care turned object into experience. Completion required restraint. Steve knew when to stop adding, and that wisdom saved many creation. Novelty fades quickly, depth grows quietly. Steve chose depth, and time rewarded him. The responsibility of influencing millions influence was never neutral. Steve awareness of responsibility shaped thoughtful choice. When design became empathy, design wasn't decoration, it was empathy made visible. Steve designed with human feeling in mind. Charles distracted creativity, Steve created control environments where ideas could breathe. Listen inwards before building outward. Inner clarity guided external creation. The value of uncomfortable honesty. Steve spoke uncomfortable truths. Growth Growth followed honesty, not politeness, building with the end user in mind. When focus becomes rare and powerful as focus becomes scarce, it's become valuable. Steve Focus life stood as an example. Letting go, creating space for ideas, peace, and purpose. Steve practiced this freedom. Growth did not require noise. Steve showed how ideas could age with dignity. Wanted products to be understood without manual. Intuition became the interface. Good taste did not announce itself, it revealed itself over time. Steve trusted this. How something is made reflect who made it. Steve character live inside his work. Listening, deep, patient listening become innovations. Foundation again. The power of choosing meaning over momentum. Momentum push forward blindly. Meaning guides direction. Steve always choose direction. Steve legacy lived not in speeches but in quiet decision. made with care. Still becoming, this story is not complete, it is still becoming every time someone chooses clarity, courage, and care. Steve Jobs' story no longer moves forward in time, it moves forward in people. It moves forward in people's. When clarity became a daily choice, clarity was not something Steve achieved once, it was a choice he made every day. Each morning demanded fresh honesty about what mattered, what did not. Innovation learned to respect the mind. Steve believed mental space was precious. Technology slow learned to protect the mind instead of overwhelming. The discipline of asking better questions. Steve really accepted easy answer. He paused team to ask better question because better questions shape better future. When work reflect inner order, messy thinking create messy products. Steve inner order reflected outward, proving that inner discipline shapes outer beauty. The strength of calm intensity, Steve was intense but never careless. His calm intensity showed that power does not require choice. Designing with compassion, not ego. Ego complicates, compassion clarifies. Steve learned that design improves when ego steps aside. Innovation as an act of courage is care. Caring deeply was risky. Steve accepted that risk, knowing care creates meaning. When focus becomes ethical stand, choosing focus made rejection, distraction, culture focus become an ethical position, not just a habit. Building things that age with grace. Steve, imagine products growing old alongside uses. Timelessness matter more than novelty. The quiet authority of consistency. Steve consistently built trust, showing up with the same standard everyday created authority without force. Innovation learns to be gentle. Gentleness did not mean weakness. Steve proved that gentle experiences could be powerful. When simplicity protects dignity, complexity often embarrasses user. Simplicity protects dignity, and Steve defined it fiercely. The courage to become, the courage to remove the impressive. Steve often removed future that impress but distracted. Truth matter more than applause. Designing for humans even on bad day. Steve imagined user stat distracted. Human design met people when they were, not where design wished they are. Innovation as a honest translation. Steve translated complexity into clarity without arrogance. This honesty made technology approachable. The power of saying no again and again. Saying no was never finished. Steve repeatedly it daily, guarding focus relentlessly. When creation feels like responsibility, creating meant shaping less. Steve traded creation as a responsibility, not entitlement. Learning to pause before deciding. Steve paused before big decision. That pause often made the difference between good and great. Innovation learns to respect time passing. Steve respect time. How people age, learn and change. Design follow human time, not market cycle. The strength, the strength of clear ending. Ending matter, Steve closed chapter clearly, allowing space for anyone. When vision become inner combination, vision no longer needed explanation. It guided instinctively like a compass. Designing with the whole human in mind, Steve designed for emotion, intellect, fatigue, joy, every layer of humanity. Innovation as quiet confidence. Steve never begged for belief. His confidence lived inside the work. The courage to stay true over time. Staying true was harder than starting bold. Steve stayed true even when trends tempted. Legacy was not pressure, not heavy, it was light. Steve influence guided without burdening. Hands, mind, and heart returned to craft. Steve respect for making things well endure. Innovation learns to honor the users were not data points, they were people. Steve never forget this. Speed promised shortcuts, Steve chose meaning and waited. The story lives in every careful story. Steve Jobs lived quietly in every careful decisions made with intention. As long as someone pauses, thinks clearly and choose. The saga does not move forward by it forward by. When discipline
The
becomes
story
freedom, Steve understood a paradox
thinks clearly
early.
and chooses
Discipline
care.
creates freedom by choosing limits. He unlocked endlessly creative space. Beyond logic and efficiency, Steve designed for the heart. Technology learned that emotion is not weakness, it is connection. Steve never chased the world speed, instead, he slowed it, inviting people to pause, notice, and feel. Strategies changes, value endure. Steve value continue guiding decisions long after plan faded. Steve never demanded trust, he earned it through consistency, care, and clarity. Every decision carried moral weight. Steve treated design choices as ethical ones. When inner belief aligned with outer work, effort felt meaningful. Steve lived in this alignment. Steve's greatness come not only from what he noticed, but from what he ignored. Focus required selective blindness. Honest creation resonated deeply. Steve's work felt truthful because it reflected sincere intent. Steve repeated principles relentlessly. Repetition turned philosophy into habit. People learn slowly. Steve respected pace, designing experience that guided gently. Steve designed for moments not no one talk about late nights, tired morning, silent creativity. Removing confusion felt like love. Steve simplified because he cared. Vision attracted compromise. Steve guarded it fiercely, knowing delusion destroy meaning. Technology shifted from control to service. Steve humility shaped this evolution. The courage to build fear better things. Stay believe greatness required rest and fewer creation made deeply matter more. When taste shapes the future, taste refine thoughtful taste, quietly shape what came next. Steve trusted taste as guidance, designing with mortality in mind again. Awareness of time sharpened every choice. Steve designed knowing nothing lasts forever. Innovation as an expression of careful living. Steve work mirror how he lived intentionally, attentively, honest. The strength of quiet conviction. Steve conviction did not shout. It stood firm, unmoved by doubt. When technology respects humans' limit, Steve believe humans should not adapt to machine. Machines should adapt to humans. Steve value reflection as much as action. Innovation learned to pause. Empathy shaped decision more than data. Steve felt user before measuring them. After release came silence, Steve listening carefully to that silence, it revealed truth. When integrity guides every detail, no details felt too small. Integrity live in every corner of the work. Success shouted loudly. Steve listened inward instead. Steve and its chapter deliberately leaving no unfinished emotional business. Creation stopped being heroic, it became collective responsibility. Influence guidance entry never demanded obedience. Steve understood that every user carried a story. Design respected that story. Steve clarity of purpose anchor every decision. Efficiently soften humanity, strengthen convince tempted shortcuts. Steve chose care even when it was harder. When philosophy became everyday practice, Steve philosophy lived not in words but in daily habits. The power of thoughtful constraint. Constant sharpened creativity, Steve embrace them fully. Innovation as gentle leadership. Leadership guided gently. Steve led through example, not noise. When creation reflect inner peace, peace shaped better work. Steve later creation reflect calm clarity. The endless return to simplicity. No matter how complex the world become, Steve returned to simplicity. Story that lives through practice. Stories survive only when practice not remember. As long as someone choose clarity over chores and care over speed. It is a way of living thoughtfully. When absence speaks louder than presence, Steve was no longer physically present, yet his absence spoke loudly. In that quiet people felt the weight of standard, the egos of care, and the responsibility to think for themselves. Innovation learns to stand alone without a central figure to follow. Innovation learn independence. Steve had always wanted thinker, not always not follower, and now that lesson mature. The quiet test of principle. Principles are easy. When someone enforces them, the real test begins. When no one was watching, Steve Value faced their truest examination. When culture reveals true belief, culture exposes what people truly believe. Where simplicity survived, Steve philosophy lived. Where it faded, shortcuts took over. The responsibility of inherited vision. Vision inherited without understanding become burden. Vision inherited with clarity become fuel. People slowly learn the difference. No ideas no longer had a face, but they had direction. Innovation moved forward guided by intention rather than personality. External pressure disappear. Standard become internal or vanish. Those who internalize Steve expectation carried them forward quietly. Without Steve approval to seek, creators face themselves. Self-honesty replaced external validation. When confusion returned, people returned to why. Steve clarity of purpose remained a compass. Comfort softened urgency. Steve legacy reminded creators that comfort must never replace curiosity. Simplicity once again demanded courage. Complexity was easier to justify. Steve insistence or simplicity felt radical or new. The silent discipline of consistency. Consistency proof harder than brilliance. Steve quote, consistency becomes the true benchmark of excellence. When vision becomes collective memory, Steve idea live inside share memory, spoken without attribution, practice without announcement. Innovation learns to respect its roots, looking for a required honoring roots. The courage mindset written as grounding wisdom. The difference between growth and drift. Growth move with intention. Drift happen unconsciously. Steve had always warned against drifting. The best leadership no longer announced itself. It was felt in clarity, restraint, and care. Steve always imagined strangers. This empathy guided work made for millions. He would never know the courage to maintain taste over time. Decades without care, Steve refined taste required constant renewal. Easy to eat, tempted compromise. Steve Longview rejected shortcuts repeatedly. Small, quiet choices created massive impact. Steve philosophy lived in these unseen moments. Influence without authority. Demanded integrity. Steve ideas influence without commanding. Designing with long memory. Steve remembered past mistake deeply. That memory protected future decisions. Craftsmanship. Steve remembered past mistake deeply. That memory protect future decisions. When craft become a moral act, craftsmanship become ethical. Sloppy work felt dishonest. Silence was preserved, not felt unnecessary. Steve had always repeated space. The strength of refusing to rush. Rushing returning mistakes, Steve patient proved timeless. When meaning outlast momentum, faded quietly, meaning endure quietly. Designing for trust you may never see. Trust built slowly and invisibly. Steve accepted this patience, innovation as daily integrity. Integrity was practiced daily, not announced occasionally. Staying true required vigilance. Drift happened easily. Legacy was not preservation, it was renewal. Steve idea evolved with distortion. The quiet burden of excellence. Excellence demanded constant effort. Steve had carried that burden willingly. Human pace replaced market speed. Steve respect for humanity returned. When decision protect emotional energy, design began protecting emotional energy, not draining it. Discipline that no one saw matter most. Innovation and gentle responsibility. Responsibility, softer innovation, making it humane. When the story lives beyond the storyteller, a story no longer told the story. Often live it. Designing with humility toward the future. Steve never assumed control over the future, only
अभी तो
care.
चुप हो जा
The
और पूछ।
power of returning to first principles again, when lost creator returned to basic clarity, simplicity, and meaning. Innovation learned to stay honest under success. Success tempted dishonest. Steve example resisted. When the work become the message, the work itself spoke. No explanation needed. Still walking the path. There is no destination here, only a path. Walk slowly, clearly, and with care. And as long as someone walk it, the story continues. Steve Legacy is no longer. It is a path to walk. I hope you like this video and don't forget to like, share and success.